It was January 2023 when news broke in Iraq that would send shockwaves across the country and beyond. A young woman, just 22 years old, was dead. Her name was Tiba Al Ali, a YouTuber who dared to dream of a different life. But instead of support, she became a victim of the very people who should have protected her. Her story isn't just about one crime, it's about a culture of silence, control, and violence that continues to claim lives. Tiba was born in Iraq in the year 2000. Like many young women, she had ambitions, dreams, and a desire for freedom. In 2017, when she was just 17 years old, her family traveled to Turkey. It was just a vacation. For Tiba, it was the beginning of a new life. When the trip ended, her family returned home to Iraq. But Tiba made a daring choice. He stayed behind in Turkey. Her decision fractured her relationship with her father and brother, who strongly disapproved. But for Tiba, Turkey offered something she could never find back home: independence. In Istanbul, Tiba embraced her freedom. She launched a YouTube channel capturing the energy of the city and her daily adventures. Her audience grew quickly, viewers loved her vibrant spirit and joyful videos. But her life wasn't just about the camera. Tiba fell in love with a man named Muhammad, and together they built a future filled with hope, laughter, and plans for marriage. To the outside world, Tiba was living her dream. But behind the smiles, something darker lingered: threats from her own family, who still disapproved of her choices. In early 2023, Tiba decided to do something brave and dangerous. Her mother had pleaded with her to visit Iraq. Longing to see her family, Tiba agreed, moving up her travel plans. She wanted to believe that things had changed, that maybe, after years apart, her family would accept her life. But what she didn't know was that she was walking into a trap. On January 31st, Tiba arranged to meet her mother at a friend's home in Baghdad neutral ground, where she hoped to avoid conflict with her father. But when she walked in, her heart sank. It wasn't just her mother waiting. It was her entire family. Confused, she tried to make sense of the gathering. Within minutes, her world blurred. She had been drugged. When she woke up, she was no longer in Baghdad. She was in her family's home, more than 160 kilometers away, with no escape. Tension exploded into a heated argument between Tiba and her father. Years of resentment poured out in words no one could take back. Exhausted, drained, and terrified, Tiba retreated to her room, hoping to find peace in sleep. But that night, as she lay defenseless, her father entered her room. In an act of rage, fueled by a twisted sense of honor, he suffocated his daughter, ending her life forever. What happened next shocked even more people. Her father didn't flee. He turned himself into police, calmly confessing to the crime. But he knew something chilling. Iraq's laws offered little to no protection for women against domestic violence. Honor killings were often minimized, and perpetrators rarely faced justice. To him, his confession wasn't a risk, it was a shield. In the days after Tiba's death, disturbing details surfaced. Secret recordings revealed that Tiba had accused her brother of abusing her as a child, and her family had ignored it. She admitted in private conversations that threats from her family had haunted her for years. Her decision to stay in Turkey had not been a rebellion, it had been survival. This wasn't just a random act of violence, it was premeditated. When the news spread, Iraq erupted. Protests broke out in Baghdad. Activists demanded laws against domestic violence. Hashtags like Number Justice for Tiba and Number Tiba Ali trended online. For many, Tiba's murder was not just another honor killing, it was a symbol of the systematic failure to protect women. Even the United Nations condemned the crime, urging Iraq to act. But despite international pressure, her father's fate remains uncertain. Tiba's story is more than just a crime report. She was a young woman who wanted freedom, who wanted to love, who wanted to live. Instead, she became a victim of the very people who should have cherished her most. Her death is a reminder of the dangers women face, not just in Iraq, but in societies where tradition outweighs justice. As protests continue, one question haunts everyone. Will Iraq finally change its laws to protect women, or will Tiba's voice remain silenced forever?